Hello friends, you better put on your silly boots and buckle up because today I'm going to be doing another Nancy Drew Games tier list. These videos are usually unhinged, but this one is going to be even more so because today I'm going to be ranking the most unhinged moments in the games. This is by no means an exhaustive list. Think of it more as me presenting you with a little tray of unhinged hors d'oeuvres for you to sample. Thank you to everyone who responded to my community post with suggestions. I couldn't include all of them as I wanted to try to just hit the big ones, but I still probably have missed some, so please let me know any additions in the comments. Okay, and before we wade in, please just know this list will be rife with spoilers and I'm going to momentarily unblur all the items in the list, so you will be smacked in the face with spoilers if you haven't played any of the games. All of the games yet, I should say. Although I think it would be actually absolutely hilarious if someone who had no knowledge of the Nancy Drew games was just exposed to this list as their first experience of the Nancy Drew games. You'll probably be thinking it's some sort of elaborate practical joke and I've made some of these up, but I assure you these are all in the games. These are all real. I'll just start by introducing you to my dear tiers. These are ranked not like best to worst, but from most unhinged to least unhinged. At the top we have carbon monoxide core. Look, I'm not saying Ghost of Thornton Hall is based on a real story, a real incident at her interactive offices, but I'll just say there's a distinct possibility considering how out of left field some of these decisions were. You know, it's giving gas leak. It's giving Icicle Creek Lodge. Icicle Creek is just a phrase that lives in my mind, 24/7, rent-free. That one woman who said it over the phone in White Wolf, I owe her a lot. A lot of my time is spent repeating her words in my brain. Disclaimer, I don't actually think her interactive are victims of a gas leak, but I just think it's funny to speculate. Then we've got who, what, where, when, why, just unfathomable decisions. It's have you questioning everything about them. Underneath that we have psychopath behavior, which is more referring to characters in the games than anything else. I don't think our interactive team are psychopaths. I really don't. But yeah, it's just actions the characters take in the games, which have me making this face. One of those faces was probably good. Maybe I'll include all of them. We shall see. And then underneath that is chaotic good. These are utterly unhinged moments that I love, even if they make no sense. I just adore them so much, and I wouldn't have the games any other way. And then at the bottom we have relatively hinged, which are the unhinged moments which kind of pale in comparison to some of the more unhinged items on this list. They're still unhinged, but in comparison to some of the others, they really just seem completely sane. I've got all the images here representing the different unhinged moments. I wonder if you can guess all of them before we get to the end, before I name them. I wonder how many you'll be able to understand just from a small pictograph. I think some are easier than others. I've also got them in order of game, just to make it a little bit easier so I'm not hopping around. I feel like these moments are already hard enough to keep up with, they're a runaway train, so we don't need to make it any more difficult. Okay, so let's start out with Secrets Can Kill. I've got a moment both from the original version, which is not in the remastered, and a moment from the remastered version, which isn't in the original. Honestly, I think her interactive should have combined the two for the most unhinged moment of all time, but that's just me. So first up, obviously, we have Nancy pointing a gun at someone. Absolutely bonkers way to start out your game series aimed at children about a teenage amateur detective investigating a case at a high school. They really started how they meant to go on, and by that I mean just utterly unhinged. Unfortunately and devastatingly to me, this never happens again, but I just think it's a a great moment, which makes it hard to rank because I'm like, that's chaotic good right there. I do get hours of amusement out of Nancy pointing a gun at someone, but I also think it's who, what, where, when, why. Like, what compelled you to do this? What compelled you to make the last puzzle in the game make sure to point this gun at someone? Please pick up the gun. If you don't pick up the gun, you will lose the game. Violence is the answer. You have to choose violence. You know what? It's chaotic good. I just love it. Whenever I get to that moment in Secrets Can Kill, I'm like, yes, the gun, pick up the gun. I just get way too excited about it. There's probably something deeply disturbed about me for that, but I think we knew that already, just sitting here watching me rank unhinged moments from a children's point-and-click puzzle game series. Next up, we have Aunt Eloise's ridiculously elaborate security system. It's a giant cage that falls out of the ceiling to trap someone who's trying to get into her safe. You gotta wonder how many times Aunt Eloise has accidentally tripped this on herself when she's come in like drunk and wanting to check on her jewels or something. And also, what happened in the beginning to warrant this? Like, what made her install this in the first place? It actually makes me seriously concerned about her. I'm like, there must be some trauma related to this that she feels the need to like put in the most expensive and ridiculous security system I've ever heard of. Aunt Eloise, are you okay, hun? I'm just gonna say who, what, where, when, why. Because they didn't have to add this. You know, it wasn't in the original Secrets Can Kill. I do love it. I think all of these, you gotta take it for granted, most of them are chaotic good to me. Some are a little bit more chaotic good, but I do love all of them. I think that's kind of the reason the Nancy Drew games stand out sometimes, is that they're not afraid to get like weird and wild, you know? Okay, now moving on to Stay Tuned for Danger, we have Nancy Drew, One Woman Bomb Squad, which is like, Nancy, just, you know, disarm this bomb. I know you're 18 years old with no experience in this, but you can do this. I mean, you can do this after 10 tries and failures, at least. I feel like this is relatively hinged compared to the rest of these. You know, Nancy disarming a bomb? It happens more than once. It's kind of just like daily life for Nancy at this point. Like, oh, here we go, another bomb. You know, it's that mundane for her. Okay, Message in a Haunted Mansion, we have a little man who lives in the walls, which is Charlie, of course. I think this is relatively hinged. I think they justify Charlie living in the walls. It's still very peculiar, very strange. But he's in there, and he's not coming out, I guess, because we never get a resolution to his story. He's just a little rat man living in the walls. I think we might come out of this tier list. I'm going to be at the very top of it, the most unhinged. Okay, Treasure in the Royal Tower has quite a few unhinged moments, the most so far, I would say. The first one being Marie Antoinette's tower just existing in Wisconsin, of all places. Like, how did it get there? Why did it get there? You know, it's a very who, what, where, then where, who, what, where, when, why moment. I don't even know my own tears. Like, for goodness sake, it's an alliteration. I should be able to get it. Or is that consonants? I can never remember the difference. Anyway, absolutely weird. I don't think Marie Antoinette could ever have predicted this, you know? I doubt she even knew what Wisconsin was. Did Wisconsin even exist in Marie Antoinette's lifetime? Just très bizarre. Okay, then we have Ezra Wickford's scrapbook of his son's misdeeds. When he was bad, he was horrid. Like, I understand a dad making a scrapbook of his son's proudest moments, but I don't understand him, like, carefully pasting in articles about his son getting arrested for passing a fraudulent check. I think he could learn something about parenting. Like, I'm not a parent myself, except to a cat. And even I know this is not good parenting, but I still think, in the grand scheme of things, relatively hinged. I do think Ezra Roquefort being Daddy Choco Bucks with his chocolate milk empire is another small, unhinged detail, but perhaps too small for this tier list. I'm trying to think of the bigger picture. Next, we have Professor Hotchkiss's order of 50 chicken wings. You know, totally normal lady, walks into a hotel, orders 50 chicken wings from room service. Totally normal thing to do in the Nancy Drew universe. I would say that's psychopath behavior, but I would do the same thing if I was her. It's not putting in a chaotic good. I love that for her. In the final scene, Simone sending a fake funeral wreath for a kidnapped teenage girl to generate publicity for film heartthrob Brady Armstrong. Absolute psychopath behavior. What was that, Simone? A girl could have died. She didn't even know if she died and she was sending her funeral flowers. Very poor taste. Secret of the Scarlet Hand, Taylor Sinclair's tie. I think that's all I need to say, but again, this is relatively hinged compared to some of the other moments. It's just a tie. Well, some would say it's just a tie. For me, it's a never-ending nightmare. Next, also in Secret of the Scarlet Hand, we have Nancy suffocating to death, sitting on an ancient mummy's lap, and then not being found for 700 years. Quite a sentence. This is the first carbon monoxide core moment just from that sentence. Like, I'm imagining her interactive team sitting around a table deciding on the second chances for this game. I'm like someone who's just had maybe 6 cups of coffee going, I know, I've got a good idea, guys. That's what I'm picturing, but I love it. If you want to see more of my opinions on second chances, I have a whole video where I talk about the best and worst second chances in the Nancy Drew games, so feel free to check that out. Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, I actually had trouble thinking of a really unhinged moment in Ghost Dogs, so let me know if you have one that's a bigger deal than this, which is the ad for the Septics Roadshow on PBS, the plumbing broadcast service, in one of the newspapers Nancy can find. Who, what, where, when, why. Or interactive. You didn't have to include this. I love it. They didn't have to include this. They didn't have to include a fake ad at all. It could have been about absolutely anything, but they're like, Septics Roadshow. We got a winner there, and you know what? They were right. Next, Haunted Carousel. We have a sentient therapy robot made out of an easy bake oven. Carbon monoxide core, if I ever heard it. Also, he has a very flawed grasp on what therapy actually is. I think he was programmed to believe that therapy is just riddles. Like, if you solve a certain amount of riddles, you'll be cured of any mental health condition you may have. Truly, meeting Miles the Magnificent Memory Machine for the very first time is one of the most memorable moments in the Nancy Drew games, I think, for anyone, not just me. Okay, next, in Danger on Deception Island, we have deliberately giving your boss food poisoning with a jellyfish sandwich. Like, her interactive really set you up to do this. They want you to do this. They want you to kill Katie. And I love that. It's chaotic good. And I love that they give you the option to make just, like, any kind of sandwich you want, like any combination of horrible items. You can make it like 90% nice, lovely, delicious ingredients, and then just bam, expired mayonnaise in there to finish her off. It's great. Actually, I would also consider it psychopath behavior of Nancy, because you do have to try. It's quite obvious which ingredients are going to, send Katie into the toilet for a very, very long time. But I don't know, I think my love for it outweighs Nancy's psychoticness. Okay, in Secret of Shadow Ranch, we have Shorty coming around the corner and going, here's Shorty, in an incredibly menacing way. Psychopath behavior. If I ever saw that in real life, I'd probably cower like a little baby. Absolutely terrifying. And then also related to Shorty, we have getting fired from a job you don't even have for picking the wrong vegetables, because that's basically what happens. Like, you pick the wrong vegetables and they kick you off the ranch. It's like, come on, I'm a guest here. But yeah, in terms of everything else, relatively hinged. Could be a lot worse. Shorty could just kill Nancy for picking the wrong vegetables, for instance. Okay, next up on the docket, we have Curse of Blackmore Manor, a game just absolutely stuffed full of unhinged content. I think there's even more that I wasn't able to fit in, being that I had 70 unhinged things to list already. But first up, we have Nancy carrying around turkey breast and butter in her pockets. Just casually. In the scheme of things, not even the weirdest thing Nancy's done. She's just being Nancy. And who cares if she doesn't know why she's gonna need turkey and butter in the future? She has the good sense to know that she will need them. She's not just picking up every food item and stuffing it in her pocket. She's being selective. Okay, the most probably unhinged moment in the whole game, a woman being gaslit into believing she's a werewolf by a small child. Just, that's the plot of Blackmore Manor, if you can believe it. Sometimes I can't. And, like, you could go even deeper into this, like, because the small child wants her parents to get back together, and also at the same time the small child wants to find her family treasure, which, it actually turns out, is just a rock. The plot of Blackmore Manor takes you places you can't even dream of. It is indeed carbon monoxide core, but also very chaotic good. I love it. The plot of Blackmore Manor saves it a lot in terms of other elements of it that I like less, like the tedious back and forthing and playing games with Jane, but the plot really redeems it. Also, moments like this. Nancy being eaten by the carnivorous plant. Oh my god, chaotic good. So wonderful. So delightful. Nothing could bring me more joy. Absolutely mandatory on a playthrough of Blackmore Manor. Get Nancy swallowed up by that carnivorous plant. You gotta do it first 5 minutes of the game. Next up, we have a parrot who knows Latin, and also how to be a little bitch. You know what? Who, what, where, when, why? Before this, you could just get hints from, normal human people. And now suddenly they're like, no, you get your hints from a parrot. The parrot can translate Latin for you. I don't understand. Also, the parrot will play practical jokes on you and laugh at you and generally be a noisy nuisance. I'm not the biggest Lulu fan, which is why I love this one so much, which is Killing a Parrot. It's great. It's great, but it's also who, what, where, when, why. Like, they basically give you the instructions for how to kill this parrot. They're like, this is what not to feed parrots, and you're like, wow, interesting. All these ingredients are available at my disposal. Like, they're inviting you. They're daring you to do it, which I love. Okay, moving on to Secret of the Old Clock, we've got a man refusing to talk to Nancy until she proves she isn't too stupid to converse with him, which I kind of love, but I also kind of hate. That is kind of psychopath behavior, but is it that much of a psychopath compared to, sending a fake funeral wreath for this poor kidnapped teenage girl? Is Richard Topham that class of psychopath? I don't know if he is. I think he's just like a man who feels deeply superior about himself. Then we have man gaslighting his friends with his drag queen persona. One thing about Josiah Crowley is he loves a little jape, a little jest, a little tomfoolery. And I think this is a very good practical joke, especially because he has the strength of will to never reveal it during his lifetime. Like, it's a little tee-hee that people learn about only after he passed away. That is the epitome of chaotic good in my mind. Okay, for Last Train to Moon Canyon, we simply have Fatima. She's chaotic good as well, chaotic good personified. Just this weird little lady in this, like, minor mascot suit, just hanging out, loving life. I love that for her. Next up is Danger by Design, which is another game which has many, many unhinged moments, starting with forging the Mona Lisa for money. Nancy's just like, sure, anything for a good buck. It's this strange man asking you to paint the Mona Lisa and he'll pay you for it. Maybe think about that a little, Nancy. I know you're a smart girl. Relatively hinged. There are definitely more unhinged moments than this. For instance, the explosive darkroom. If you knock anything over in there, you're dead. The whole building's destroyed. It's just extreme. It's very extreme. It's who, what, where, when, why. Okay, then we have the whole concept of Ichido, the martial art that Minette practices where she yells weird gibberish. Who, what, where, when, why. Like, just like... I think you can tell by the noises I'm making that I'm, like, struggling to understand. This is the big climax of the game. A weird martial arts fight where Minette yells at you, I fought imaginary elves that were stronger than you. It's like, man, what does that mean? There are so many odd things going on there. But again, I love it because it is so weird. Then we have Minette committing to wearing a full face mask at all times due to a regretful face tattoo. Oh my god. Also, as one of the commenters pointed out, just Minette as a person, just a very unhinged lady. This is another who, what, where, when, why moment, honestly. Like, her interactive, I think, loves to save on animation by putting their characters in masks or behind bed sheets, which I totally understand. They're a small studio, they don't have an unlimited budget. But just the explanation for this one is like, how did they come up with that? They could have just said she wears it for fashion or something. But no, they're like, alien face tattoo. That's the one. Okay, next is rat thieves, and I'm referring to the rats in the sewers in Danger by Design who will occasionally, but more often than not, steal Nancy's belongings. I guess after the events of Ratatouille, those rats fell on hard times and they're having to, scrounge and steal whatever they can, wherever they can. But it's still baffling. Like, how does a rat steal a whole book? What is he going to do with it? Can he read? The implications are staggering. It's a who, what, where, when, why decision. Also, it's kind of mean. It's kind of a mean decision. Like, oh, you needed that book? Too bad, sucker. But there's literally nothing you can do. You just have to pray that the rats will be kind and leave you alone. Creature of Capu Cave, a small but mighty unhinged game. First we have Big Island Mike's plan. What even is his plan? I don't think I really know, and you know what? I don't think Mike does either. Something, poison the pineapple crop, something, profit? Make all the bugs super horny? Something along those lines. Just very bizarre. Mike, where were you going with this? It really screams time crunch. We are really needing to get that game out the door. No time to flesh out this plot any further. It is what it is. Speaking of it is what it is, we have the creature of Capu Cave actually being not a creature at all, but a bunch of bugs rubbing their legs together as a form of mating ritual. Excuse me, huh? I said, huh? That one baffles me, I gotta be honest. White Wolf Icicle Creek, honestly, I found so many in this game. I could have gone on. First, we have Tino's survey. You're a serious detective, going around doing serious detective work. Your life has been threatened. People have thrown ice balls at you. They've exploded a fishing shack you're in. Things are tough out there. And then little weedy boy Tino sends you this survey and requests that you ask all the suspects questions like, what planet do you most identify with? It's like, what is the purpose of that question? Sir, what is the purpose of that? What am I going to gain by knowing whether they like paprika or not? How will that help me solve the mystery? Spoilers, it doesn't, but relatively hinged compared to some of the other things that happen in White Wolf. Like pelting a small child repeatedly in the head for profit. Like, Nancy always aims for the head. She doesn't have to do that. She does not have to do that. It's enough to give her a concussion the amount of times you have to do snowball fights with Freddy in that game. So that's psychopath behavior from Nancy. 1555 Mystico and the whole weird dream sequence Easter egg that follows along from that. This is like a totally multi-part one. Like, firstly, the whole conversation with Mystico is just really bizarre and baffling. And then if you kind of progress with the Easter egg, you get this very unsettling, puppeteering dream. I think this is probably the weirdest Easter egg in any Nancy Drew game, and it's just like, yeah, carbon monoxide core. Did someone at Her Interactive have this dream? And they're like, oh, we gotta include that in the game. And everyone else at Her was like, oh, sure, Jim. We've gotta make this hard for the players to get, because it's really, really heckin' weird. I think Jim ate too much cheese before he went to bed. Cheese can give you strange dreams, just so you know. This is an educational video. Next, we have the culprit's massive supply of expired mayonnaise. Where did he get that from? Why does he have so much? I know what he needs it for, to poison the potato salad, but why does he need so much? Is he planning to poison the potato salad more? How does he have it all? Was it left by Trapper Dan? It just raises so many questions, so I should probably put in who, what, where, when, why, but I feel like I was actually considering not even including this in the tier list, because I'm like, it feels fairly minor compared to some of the other points. Like, it's such a small thing, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it and wondering about this darn mayonnaise. Okay, speaking of the expired mayonnaise, we have everyone in the game assuming and accepting that a wolf poisoned the potato salad. Tell me how. Talk to me and tell me how. Articulate that for me. Because there is literally no way a wolf could have done that. That's relatively hinged, though. And then we have the snowmen screaming in agony when Nancy bumps into them on her snowmobile. Absolutely terrifying the first time you experience this, and I think the implications of this are absolutely horrifying. They really didn't have to include that sound effect. Where did it come from? Why did they decide to do that? It's a smaller thing, so I'm tempted to put it in who, what, where, when, why, but it's also just like so inexplicable. Like, I can understand some of the other choices, like in this level, like why they would choose to do that in this tier, but I just don't understand the snowman screaming in pain at all. It's just traumatic. First up in Legend of the Crystal Skull, we have probably making a man's eyes literally pop out of his head by macro-dosing him with sneezing powder. Absolute psychopath behavior from Bez. I didn't think she had it in her, but apparently she does, and you know, she's not worried about tormenting this man. She does it multiple times, in fact. But yeah, the amount of times he's sneezing makes me very concerned for his health. And I've always heard that myth that if you sneeze with your eyes open, your eyes will pop out of your head, and I'm imagining that destiny for Lamont. Next we have Bruno Boulet's massive and eccentric collection of fake eyes. I think this would be a little odd to begin with that he has so many, but they're all very weird. Just brings it to the unhinged level. Like, he's got that one that's like radioactive symbol. He's got one that looks like a cat's eye. He's got a few that are just indescribable. Like, can you imagine him just going to the grocery store wearing one of those absolutely strange and kind of scary eyes? It's pretty iconic for him, I think. I'm gonna say this is chaotic good. I think Bruno Boulet seems like a really cool guy. Next we have an alligator that just loves marshmallows. Who would have thought? Just chaotic good. I love Bernie. On a related note, we have dressing an iguana up in a little male person outfit to gain a vital clue. Like, I cannot emphasize enough how much this clue changes the plot of Legend of the Crystal Skull. It's just wild, and you think about how you got it was by dressing up a little iguana in a thematically appropriate outfit. It's bananas, and I absolutely adore it. Also, can we talk about the fact that Iggy the iguana has a larger and more varied wardrobe than a lot of humans that I know? I love it, and I love him. Phantom of Venice, y'all knew this would be on this list. Nancy dancing in a sexy leather cat suit for money under the name Punchy LaRue. I think this is carbon monoxide core. I think there is something in the water when Her Interactive were making this game and the next game, because they have some of the most unhinged, wild, unexpected moments in any of the Nancy Drew games. Like, I don't think Nancy dancing in a gimp suit would have been on anyone's bingo cards for the next Nancy Drew game when that came out. And yet, there it was. It is real. It exists, and it's delightful. My next point about Phantom of Venice is just like the entire premise of the game, basically. The Italian secret police hiring an amateur teen detective from America and then being like, yeah, it's totally okay with us if you steal that priceless jewel, lol. Just totally condoning a major crime. I think that's real psychopath behavior from Sophia and all her little cronies. Why would they hire an 18-year-old detective in the first place? Like, what was crossing their minds, truly? And like, you're the police. You shouldn't be like, yeah, you can have a little crime as a treat. You should not be saying that. Haunting of Castle Maloy. Friends, we all know this is possibly the most unhinged Nancy Drew game. A lot of elements about it are just head scratchers, really. We've got Nancy launching a rocket. That's something Nancy Drew does now, I guess. Honestly, one of the least unhinged moments in this game, but it's like she just sets off a rocket. No concern about the consequences of that. Like, where did it crash? What happened to it? I guess, isn't it confirmed that it crashes on the island in Ransom of the Seven Ships? Nevertheless, it's very reckless of Nancy to do, and very strange. Like, you start off in this game where it's set in this, like, crumbling castle in Ireland where there's, like, potentially a ghost. You wouldn't expect to be setting off a rocket in a secret underground World War II bunker at the end of the game. Okay, then we have the Banshee that has been haunting Nancy the whole game. Is actually just a senile old lady with a jetpack. Yeah, that's weird. Literally probably the least predictable ending out of any Nancy Drew game. Okay, then on a lesser scale, we have giving the sheep mohawks. I'm sure this is not what the people want their sheep to look like. It's probably wasteful for the first thing. Style over substance, but it's just chaotic good. It's a little charming moment in a deeply weird game. This next one just really gets my goat. I hate it, and that is exploding water. You know what I'm talking about. The chemistry puzzle at the end of Haunting of Castle Maloy, when you have to sort the little chemicals with your little claw machine hand, and if you touch any of them the wrong way, they explode, including the chemical H2O, which is water. That's not what happens if you touch water like that. It makes no sense, Who, what, where, when, why. Ransom of the Seven Ships. First up, we have monkeys who try to kill Nancy with rocks, because let's be honest, that's literally what they're doing, but who also know how to play Candyland and win against a human opponent. Those are freakish little monkeys. No wonder they were studying them. If you can call a monkey a psychopath, I'm gonna do it right here, right now. Those monkeys, every single one of them, to a man, to a monkey, even little babies, are psychopaths. Okay, then we have a second parrot who knows how to be a bitch, but in a different way. Cuckoo isn't quite as iconic as Lulu. Why would you choose to bring in another one of these damn parrots? Did people really love Lulu that much at the time? I don't know, it befuddles me. Okay, let's talk about warnings at Waverly Academy. First up, we have the Waverly girls' appetites. I love nothing better than working at the snack shop, but some of the orders these girls make really have me questioning their life choices, questioning their lives, questioning their mental health. You can't tell me there's not something seriously wrong with the girl who ordered bagel, lettuce, bagel, because that would not be the truth. It's girl dinner, derogatory. Just psychopath behavior there. You could order anything from the snack bar. Why are you ordering toasted bread, lettuce, toasted bread? Why are you doing that to yourself? This one is a little hard to make out from the picture, but it's swinging pendulum of death in the secret basement of a girls' school. Why is it there? Why is it there? I don't think I know. Genuinely, if you know why that is there, please let me know, because I really don't. Other than to tie into the Edgar Allan Poe thing, it is a who, what, where, when, why situation. Who installed that? For what purpose? To kill naughty children? If you fail your classes, it's to the pendulum room for you. Next one is one that gets my goat as well, gets my second goat. Imagine I have two metaphorical goats. This gets my second metaphorical goat, and that is those darn twins. The twins who pretend to be one person and con Nancy into doing their homework. One person's homework for them. You don't need 3 people to do one person's homework, and they're out here pretending like they're struggling, oh, Nancy, I'm so stressed. Help me out here. I would owe you my life. I'm desperate. Girls, I should say, what is going on? I think they're just master manipulators, honestly. It was all an act. And in my opinion, they shouldn't have been given a second chance. They couldn't keep up with their schoolwork even though there was 2 of them. And they were cheating by getting another girl to help them out. I know they're not considered for valedictorian anymore, but I don't think they should even be attending Waverly. Send them to military school. That's what I say. Psychopath behavior from them, honestly. Like I say, just cold, calculating. Okay, now we have a psychopath moment from Nancy, spoilers for what tier I'm putting it in, that's repeatedly asking a grieving man about his dead wife, even though Nancy knows she is dead. Hey, Pa, where's your dead wife? Where's your dead wife, Pa? You don't do that, but she doesn't learn her lesson, because then she goes off and Shadow at the Water's Edge and is like, hey, what's this I hear about your dead mom? Tell me about your dead mom. Cool your jets, Nancy. Learn some social etiquette. Nancy getting into multiple hit-and-run incidents. If you hit another car on the road, you should stop. You know, exchange insurance information. Not for Nancy. No. She would never. Which is, again, psychopath behavior, in my opinion. Actually, none of my options for Shadow at the Water's Edge are Nancy asking about the dead mom, because I think asking about Pa's dead wife when you know she's dead and not acknowledging that you know she's dead and pretending like she's still alive is like 10 times worse than asking someone about their dead mom when you know they're dead and in the context of knowing they're dead. Like, she is pestering them. Let's not get that wrong. She could be being a lot worse. First up, we have a robotic cat that can kill you. Great stuff. Shadow at the Water's Edge is the gift that keeps on giving. I don't think she's a psychopath because she's like a robot cat. I don't think there's any intention in her actions. At least I hope not. I hope she's not sentient. Let's say this is a who, what, where, when, why decision. It's a man who thinks it's okay to make a puppet of his girlfriend's dead mom and haunt her, the girlfriend, with said puppet of her dead mom. No, why would you even think that was okay? You literal psychopath. Oh my god, worst man in the Nancy Drew series, I think. And there's some stiff competition. Captive Curse. The unhinged moment I picked for this game is getting revenge on your ex by scamming your way into a management position at his company and then dressing up as a discount Frankenstein to tank his business. You know, only one girl could have thought of that. Like, her mind. Good for her. I say good for her. That is a chaotic good move from you, Anya. I love it. It's inspired, honestly. You go, girl boss. Okay, Alibi and Ashes. You know I had to talk about Nancy getting arrested for arson. Nancy goes to jail. I absolutely love it. First up for Tomb of the Lost Queen, we've got whatever's going on with Jamila. Jamila's whole deal. Oh, I'm an alien conspiracy theorist. No, wait, actually, I'm not. I was just using that as cover. I'm actually the latest descendant in a long line of protectors of this ancient mummy, or something like that. It's been a while since I played Tomb of the Lost Queen, in all honesty, but there's some hinky stuff going on with her story. I'll just say this is relatively hinged because I really don't know what's going on with her. Then we also have dying of drinking too much water. Who knew it could happen? Nancy has proved that it can and it will if you try hard enough. I think this is another who, what, where, when, why moment. For the deadly device, we have using gummy bears to create a fake fingerprint to do some trespassing, which, you know, is highly illegal, not to mention unethical. But Nancy does it. She sure does do it. It's kind of genius, honestly. I'm gonna say that's relatively hinged compared to some of the other stuff Nancy does. She kind of has to solve the mystery. They forced her hand into using those gummy bears to create a fake fingerprint to get into that room. Like, there was simply no other way. Okay, Ghost of Thornton Hall. You knew we had to talk about it. The ghost is carbon monoxide poisoning all along. Wow. Yeah, you know that's carbon monoxide horror. It could go nowhere else. The moral of the story is to always install both carbon monoxide and fire alarms in your old, dilapidated, haunted mansion because you will need both of them. The Silent Spy has quite a few. First of all, just the plot of this game being biological terrorism. Like, excuse me, what? Nancy is trying to prevent what? And you know, Nancy can just go off and make some little cookies for a while the threat of biological terrorism hangs over her head. Who, what, where, when, why? Then we've got Nancy just ziplining to another person's room. No one but Nancy Drew. That's also gonna be a who, what, where, when, why for me. But I love it. Nancy's mom being a spy. You know, I just don't really like that as a plot point. She's okay being like a perfectly normal person. I think it it creates this weird kind of mythologizing of Nancy's background. I think her capability has more meaning if she's just like an ordinary girl who kind of made herself extraordinary rather than it kind of being in her bones, at least for me. I think, yeah, trying to create a big thing out of Nancy's mom was totally unnecessary. I like the idea of fleshing her out a little bit more, but like making it in a totally unrealistic and over-the-top way just didn't hit the mark for me. That being said, it's gonna be a who, what, where, when, why decision. Shattered Medallion, very unhinged game. Firstly, we have Sunny June hijacking a reality TV show because aliens? I honestly don't really know. This is one of the ones I haven't played too much either, but no matter how many times I will play it, I will never understand what was going on with Sunny and what his plan was, what was going on there. I just never. Who, what, where, when, why, Sunny. I also just like Sunny June as a person. What a strange, esoteric little man. We have Patrick. What is he talking about ever? But he kind of pales in light to Sunny June being in the same game, so he's relatively hinged in comparison, but it's like you can't have two little weirdo guys who talk in riddles in the same game. You just can't. It's too much. Next, we have the stupidly elaborate and also stupidly impractical stage sets in Labyrinth of Lies. People have spent years trying to decipher them, trying to understand them, trying to decide if they would actually work. We may never know, but they certainly exist. It's a who, what, where, when, why from me, Chief. Then Sea of Darkness, we have Soren coming after Nancy with an axe. I would say this is psychopath behavior, but I honestly think it's pretty darn cool. So that's chaotic good, in my opinion. Midnight in Salem. The ghost was just expired Weetabix all along. Well, it's ergot, but, you know, the way they describe it always makes me think of breakfast cereal for some reason. But they had already done that in Ghost of Thornton Hall, really been like, oh, the ghost is this other substance which causes hallucinations, so I think it loses some of its power in that it's more of a who, what, where, when, why. It still is pretty weird as an explanation for ghosts. Lastly, the one we've all been waiting for, well, I don't know. You might have been. You'd have been like, what the heck is Ned doing up there? He's the least unhinged guy ever, most boring man. But this actually stands for Ned cheating on Nancy, ? That one phone call they have where there's like that girl in the background like, come on, Ned. A weird moment. Like they're kind of building up to it, but I still don't think anyone could have predicted that happening. But I think relatively hinged in the scheme of things, because like I say, they kind of built it up. There's stranger things Ned could have done. Anyway, there it is. My list. All the most unhinged moments in the Nancy games that I personally could think of. All the big ones, at least. There's many more. Little smaller ones scattered throughout. If I had to pick just one as a favorite, it might be the plot of Blackmore Manor. The woman gaslit into believing she's a werewolf by a small child. Or Nancy being swallowed by a carnivorous plant. Or dressing Iggy up as a mailman. There's just so many good choices. What is your favorite unhinged moment? What is a moment I might have missed? Please let me know in the comments.